I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I guess life has a way of throwing you curveballs when you least expect it. My name's Mark, and up until recently I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife Emily and I had been together for 6 years, married for 3. We were the kind of couple people envied. At least that's what I thought. Emily and I met in college. She was the vivacious, charismatic type, always the life of the party, while I was more of the quiet, dependable one. Despite our differences, we clicked instantly. Our relationship was passionate and intense, and we seemed to balance each other out. After graduation, we moved to the city, both of us landing decent jobs. We bought a cozy apartment, decorated it together, and settled into what I believed was a happy, stable life. The first signs of trouble were subtle. Emily started working late more often, citing a big project at work. She became more secretive with her phone, always keeping it face down and taking calls in the other room. I chalked it up to stress and didn't press her on it. Trust was the foundation of our relationship, or so I thought. But then, little things began to pile up. She'd go out with friends more frequently, always leaving me behind with some excuse about how it was just a girls' night. Her demeanor towards me changed too, less affectionate, more irritable. The sex, which had always been incredible, became almost non-existent. When I did bring it up, she dismissed it, saying she was just tired or not in the mood. I tried to be understanding. I gave her space, thinking maybe she was going through something she wasn't ready to share. But deep down, a nagging suspicion started to take root. Something was off, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. The turning point came one night when Emily was out, supposedly at another girls' night. I was cleaning up around the apartment when her laptop pinged with a notification. It was rare for her to leave it behind, and curiosity got the better of me. I know I shouldn't have snooped, but at that moment, I felt like I had no choice. My gut was screaming at me that something was wrong. I opened her laptop and saw an email notification from a name I didn't recognize, Jake. My heart started to race as I clicked on it, and what I found made my blood run cold. The email was explicit, filled with details of their last rendezvous and plans for the next. They talked about how thrilling their secret meetings were and how much they missed each other's touch. My hands shook as I read on, every word driving a knife deeper into my heart. But it wasn't just the email. There were photos too, selfies of them together in places I'd never seen, intimate moments captured in the very bed I shared with Emily. I felt sick to my stomach. This wasn't just a fling, it was an affair, and it had been going on for months, if not longer. I scrolled through their email history, each message confirming what I dreaded. They'd met up regularly, sometimes during the times she'd claimed to be working late or out with friends. I couldn't believe how blind I'd been, how easily she'd lied to my face. The betrayal was complete and utterly devastating. I felt a whirlwind of emotions. Rage, heartbreak, disbelief. How could she do this to us? To me? The person I loved and trusted more than anyone in the world had been living a double life. My mind raced with questions, but I knew one thing for sure. I needed to confront her. There was no going back from this. Emily came home late that night, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers and looking more disheveled than usual. I sat on the couch, her laptop open in front of me, waiting. The moment she walked through the door, she saw my expression and froze. "Mark, what's wrong?" she asked, feigning innocence. "Where were you, Emily?" My voice was steady, colder than I felt inside. "I told you, I was out with the girls," she replied, a hint of irritation creeping into her voice. "Stop lying," I snapped, standing up and facing her. "I know about Jake." Her face went pale, and for a moment she looked like a deer caught in headlights. But then, to my astonishment, she composed herself quickly. "Mark, it's not what you think," she began, but I cut her off. "Not what I think? I read your emails, Emily. I saw the photos. Don't insult me by trying to spin this." She tried to protest, but the words stuck in her throat. Finally, she sighed and dropped her act. "Okay, fine. Yes, I've been seeing Jake, but it's not like that, it's just sex. It doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't mean anything?" I repeated, incredulous. You've been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back, and you expect me to believe it's just meaningless sex? Mark, you don't understand. You've been so distant lately. I needed something more. Jake was just a distraction. I still love you, she pleaded, stepping closer. I recoiled from her touch. Don't! Just don't! You think this justifies what you did? You think this makes it okay? My voice was rising, the anger bubbling up uncontrollably. Emily's expression hardened. You're not perfect either, Mark. You've been so wrapped up in your work, barely paying attention to me. What did you expect? So this is my fault now? I shouted. You're the one who chose to cheat instead of talking to me. You broke us, Emily. She didn't have an answer for that. She just stood there, looking at me with a mixture of defiance and regret. The silence between us was deafening, filled with the echoes of everything we had lost. I can't do this anymore, I finally said, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and sorrow. I'm done. Mark, please, we can work through this, she begged, tears welling up in her eyes. But I was resolute. No, Emily, there's no coming back from this. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. I'm leaving. With that, I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and headed for the door. The sound of her sobs echoed in the hallway as I left, but I didn't look back. My mind was made up. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. I drove aimlessly that night, the city lights blurring past as tears filled my eyes. Every mile felt like an escape from the pain, but it was impossible to outrun the images burned into my mind. Emily's deceitful smile, her whispered conversations with Jake, their intimate photos. It felt like my entire world had crumbled in an instant. I ended up in a quiet park on the outskirts of town, parking the car and sitting on a bench by the lake. The cool night air did little to calm my raging thoughts. I watched the moon's reflection ripple across the water, a perfect picture of serenity in stark contrast to the chaos inside me. How had things gone so wrong? I replayed every moment in my mind, searching for signs I'd missed, trying to understand how Emily could betray me so thoroughly. The realization hit me hard. Our marriage had been an illusion. All those late-night talks, the shared dreams, the promises of forever, they were all tainted now. Emily had shattered them with her lies. I spent hours in that park, lost in my thoughts, before finally deciding to drive to a hotel. I couldn't bear to go back to the apartment, to the place that was now just a reminder of Emily's betrayal. I checked into a small, nondescript hotel and collapsed on the bed, exhaustion and heartbreak weighing me down. Sleep didn't come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together, and it felt like a knife twisting in my heart. The next morning, I woke up to the harsh reality of my new life. The pain was still there, raw and relentless. I knew I had to take action, to put some distance between myself and the wreckage of my marriage. I called a lawyer first thing, explaining the situation and starting the process of divorce. It felt surreal, as if I were talking about someone else's life. Emily called and texted repeatedly, but I ignored her. I had nothing left to say. She had made her choice, and now I was making mine. I spent the next few days in a haze, moving from the hotel to a friend's place while the lawyer handled the details. It was a whirlwind of paperwork and painful conversations, but I was determined to see it through. Then, one evening, as I was sorting through my things, I found our old travel photos. Pictures from our honeymoon in Hawaii, our trips to Europe, and countless weekend getaways. Each photo was a painful reminder of happier times, of the love I thought we had. But they also made me realize something crucial. I needed a fresh start, far away from the ghosts of our past. That night, I made a decision that felt both terrifying and liberating. I was going to leave the country and start over. It was a drastic move, but I needed a clean slate, a chance to rebuild my life on my terms. I began researching places, looking for somewhere that felt like the right fit. Eventually, I settled on New Zealand. It was a place I'd always wanted to visit, with its stunning landscapes and peaceful vibe. It seemed like the perfect place to heal and find myself again. With a newfound sense of purpose, I started making plans. I sold our apartment, liquidated my assets, and prepared for the move. It was a chaotic and emotionally draining process, but it felt like the first step toward reclaiming my life. Emily's messages became more desperate as she realized I was serious about leaving, but I stayed firm. I needed this for myself. As the departure date approached, I felt a mix of anxiety and excitement. I was leaving behind everything I knew, but I was also leaving behind the pain and betrayal. The thought of a new beginning, in a place where no one knew my story, was incredibly appealing. It was a chance to redefine myself, free from the shadows of my past. The day of my departure arrived with a sense of finality that was both daunting and exhilarating. The weeks leading up to it had been a blur of packing, selling off belongings, and saying goodbye to the few friends who knew the real story. Each farewell was bittersweet, a mix of sorrow for what I was leaving behind and hope for the fresh start ahead. As I stood in the airport terminal waiting to board my flight, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the past few months pressing down on me. Everything felt surreal. The bustling crowds, the overhead announcements, the constant hum of airport life. It was a stark contrast to the storm that had raged in my personal life. But amidst the chaos, I felt a glimmer of relief. I was finally leaving it all behind. The flight to New Zealand was long, giving me plenty of time to reflect. I alternated between periods of restless sleep and staring out the window at the vast expanse of ocean below. My mind wandered to the life I was leaving, Emily's betrayal, the heartache, the countless nights spent questioning everything. But with each passing mile, I felt a bit of that pain begin to lift, as if the physical distance was helping to create emotional distance as well. When the plane finally touched down in Auckland, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Stepping off the plane, I was greeted by the fresh, crisp air and a vibrant city that was entirely new to me. I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of freedom that I hadn't felt in a long time. I had rented a small apartment in Wellington, a cozy place with a view of the harbor. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and it represented the new life I was determined to build. The first few days were a whirlwind of settling in, unpacking boxes, buying essentials, and exploring my new surroundings. The city was beautiful, with its blend of modern architecture and natural scenery. It felt like the perfect place to start over. One evening, as I sat on my balcony watching the sun set over the water, I allowed myself a moment of reflection. The pain of Emily's betrayal was still there, but it was beginning to feel more distant, like a wound that was finally starting to heal. I thought about all the plans we had made, all the dreams we had shared, and realized that those dreams were mine to reclaim. I didn't need her to fulfill them. I started focusing on myself, something I hadn't done in a long time. I joined a local gym, started hiking the beautiful trails around Wellington, and even took up photography, a hobby I had always been interested in but never had the time for. Each new activity, each new experience, was a step toward rediscovering who I was and what I wanted from life. Making new friends was easier than I had expected. The people in New Zealand were incredibly friendly and welcoming. I met a group of expats who had also moved there for a fresh start, and we quickly bonded over our shared experiences. They became my support system, helping me navigate the ups and downs of starting over in a new country. One night, over drinks at a local pub, I found myself opening up about what had happened with Emily. It was cathartic to share my story with people who had no preconceived notions about me, who didn't know the Mark that had been betrayed. They listened, offered their support, and helped me see that I wasn't defined by what had happened to me. I was more than Emily's betrayal. I was a survivor, someone who had the strength to walk away and start anew. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself thinking about Emily less and less. The raw pain of her betrayal had dulled to a distant ache, something that was there but no longer dominated my every thought. I realized that I was happy again, genuinely happy, in a way I hadn't been for a long time. As the months went by, I fully immersed myself in my new life in New Zealand. The sense of freedom I felt was intoxicating, like a breath of fresh air after years of being suffocated by lies and betrayal. Each day brought new opportunities and challenges, and I embraced them all with a determination I hadn't felt in a long time. I threw myself into my work, finding a job with a local tech company that valued innovation and creativity. It was a welcome change from my previous job, where I often felt stuck in a rut. Here I was encouraged to think outside the box, to bring fresh ideas to the table. My colleagues were supportive and friendly, and I quickly formed close bonds with them. Work became more than just a way to pay the bills. It became a passion and a source of pride. Outside of work, I continued to explore my newfound love for photography. New Zealand's breathtaking landscapes provided endless inspiration, from the rugged coastlines to the lush forests and majestic mountains. I spent my weekends traveling, camera in hand, capturing the beauty of my new home. Each photo was a reminder of how far I had come, a testament to my resilience and my ability to find beauty even in the aftermath of heartbreak. I also made a conscious effort to build a social life. I joined several local clubs and groups, ranging from hiking clubs to photography meetups. These activities not only allowed me to pursue my interests, but also helped me meet new people and form meaningful connections. My social circle grew steadily, filled with people who shared my passions and supported my journey. One of the most significant relationships I formed was with a woman named Sarah. We met at a photography meetup, and I was immediately drawn to her warmth and vivacity. She had a kind smile and an infectious enthusiasm for life. We started spending more time together, exploring the city, hiking, and of course, taking photos. Our friendship deepened, and I found myself opening up to her in ways I hadn't with anyone since Emily. Sarah had her own story of heartbreak, having gone through a painful divorce a few years prior. Our shared experiences created a bond between us, a mutual understanding of the pain and the healing process. We supported each other, offering advice, empathy, and encouragement. Sarah became my confidant, someone I could trust completely. One evening, as we sat on a beach watching the sunset, Sarah turned to me with a serious expression. "Mark, I know what you've been through has been incredibly hard, but I've seen you grow so much since we met. You're stronger than you realize." Her words touched me deeply. "Thank you, Sarah. You've been a huge part of that. I don't think I could have come this far without your support." She smiled, her eyes shining with genuine warmth. "We're both stronger together. And remember, it's okay to let go of the past. You deserve to be happy." As I looked out at the horizon, the sky painted in hues of orange and pink, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Sarah was right. I had spent so long holding on to the pain and betrayal, but it was time to let go. I deserved happiness, and I was on the right path to finding it. In the following months, my relationship with Sarah blossomed into something more than friendship. It was gradual and natural, built on a foundation of trust and mutual respect. We were both cautious, wary of getting hurt again, but we found solace and joy in each other's company. It felt right, in a way I hadn't thought possible after everything that had happened with Emily. The move to New Zealand had been a leap of faith, a bold step into the unknown. But it was exactly what I needed. It gave me the space to heal, to rediscover myself, and to build a new life filled with passion, friendship, and love. Looking back, I realized that Emily's betrayal, as painful as it was, had been the catalyst for this incredible journey of self-discovery and renewal. As my life in New Zealand continued to flourish, the memories of Emily's betrayal faded into the background. They were no longer a daily torment, but rather distant echoes of a past life. My relationship with Sarah had grown deeper, and for the first time in a long while, I felt genuinely happy and at peace. One sunny afternoon, as Sarah and I were exploring a quaint coastal village, my phone buzzed with an email notification. I glanced at it, expecting the usual work updates or messages from friends. Instead, I saw Emily's name. My heart skipped a beat, a mix of surprise and dread washing over me. It had been months since our last contact, and I wasn't sure I wanted to reopen that wound. Sarah noticed my change in demeanor. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. "It's from Emily," I replied, showing her the screen. Sarah squeezed my hand reassuringly. "Do you want to read it?" I nodded, taking a deep breath before opening the email. It was long and emotional, filled with apologies and reflections on what had happened. Emily wrote about how she had realized the magnitude of her mistakes and how deeply she regretted hurting me. She mentioned that she had been going to therapy, working on her issues, and wanted to find closure. She didn't ask for forgiveness, only understanding, and hoped that I was finding happiness. Reading her words stirred a whirlwind of emotions within me. Anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief battled for dominance. I had moved on, built a new life, and found someone who genuinely cared for me. But Emily's email felt like the closing of a chapter that had haunted me for so long. I looked at Sarah, her eyes filled with understanding. "How do you feel?" she asked softly. "Conflicted," I admitted. "But mostly I feel like this is the closure I needed. Her apology doesn't erase what happened, but it helps." Sarah smiled, her expression filled with compassion. "Closure is important. It's a sign that you've truly moved on." I decided to respond to Emily. I kept my reply short but sincere, acknowledging her apology and expressing my hope that she finds peace and happiness. I didn't dwell on the past or rehash old wounds. Instead, I focused on the future, both hers and mine. Hitting send, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was as if a door had finally closed, allowing me to fully embrace the new life I had built. Sarah and I continued our day, exploring the village, laughing and creating new memories. There was a lightness in my step that hadn't been there before. Over the next few weeks, I noticed a change in myself. The lingering resentment and bitterness I had carried were gone, replaced by a sense of calm and contentment. I realized that forgiveness, even if unspoken, was a powerful tool for healing. I had forgiven Emily, not for her sake, but for mine. It allowed me to let go of the past and fully embrace the present. Sarah and I grew even closer, our relationship deepening with each passing day. We shared our hopes and dreams, our fears and insecurities, building a bond that was strong and genuine. I knew that whatever the future held, we would face it together. One evening, as we sat on the same beach where we had talked about letting go of the past, I looked at Sarah and felt a surge of gratitude. She had been my rock, my confidant, and my partner in this journey of healing and rediscovery. I reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Thank you, Sarah," I said, my voice filled with emotion, "for everything. For being here, for understanding, and for helping me find myself again." She smiled, her eyes shining with love. "We've helped each other, Mark, and I'm so glad we found each other." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the water, I felt a profound sense of peace. The past was behind me, and the future stretched out before me, filled with endless possibilities. I had found closure, forgiveness, and love, and most importantly, I had found myself. As time went on, my new life in New Zealand became the norm, and the turbulent days of my past marriage seemed like a distant memory. Yet, there were moments when the past would resurface, nudging me to reflect on the journey that had brought me here. One quiet evening, Sarah and I sat by the fireplace in our apartment, the warmth and flickering light creating a cozy ambiance. We often spent evenings like this, talking about our day, our dreams, and sometimes our pasts. That night, as we sipped our wine, the conversation naturally turned to reflections on where we had been and where we were now. "Do you ever think about what happened with Emily?" Sarah asked gently, her eyes searching mine. I took a moment to gather my thoughts. "Sometimes," I admitted. "It's hard not to, especially when I think about how different my life is now compared to back then." The betrayal still stung when I thought about it, but it was more like an old scar than an open wound. I remembered the anguish I felt when I discovered Emily's affair, the sleepless nights, and the constant questioning of my worth. I had felt blindsided, a pawn in a cruel game I hadn't even known I was playing. "She wasn't just unfaithful," I continued. "She shattered the trust and love I thought we had. Our marriage had felt like a safe haven, but it turned out to be built on lies. I was so wrapped up in my work and in trying to provide for us that I missed all the signs. Looking back, I realize how much I ignored, thinking our love was enough to overcome anything." Sarah listened intently, her hand resting on mine in a gesture of support. "It must have been incredibly hard to go through that," she said softly. "It was," I replied, my voice steady. But it also taught me a lot about myself. I learned how resilient I can be. I learned the importance of being present and truly connecting with the people I care about. And most importantly, I learned that my happiness doesn't depend on someone else's approval or love. I paused, looking around our apartment. The walls were adorned with photographs from our adventures, each one a testament to the life we were building together. My life now feels so different from what it was back then. I used to measure my success by my career and my relationship, but now it's about the experiences I have, the people I meet, and the love I share with you. Sarah smiled, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the fire. I feel the same way. Our pasts have shaped us, but they don't define us. We've both come so far, and we have so much to look forward to. Her words resonated deeply with me. The contrast between my past and present was stark. With Emily, I had felt constantly on edge, trying to keep everything together, often at the expense of my own well-being. Our relationship had been marked by a veneer of perfection, hiding the cracks beneath the surface. With Sarah, everything was different. Our relationship was built on mutual respect, understanding, and genuine affection. There were no secrets, no hidden agendas. We supported each other's dreams and aspirations, and we faced challenges together as a team. It was a partnership in the truest sense of the word. Reflecting on the betrayal, I realized that it had been a catalyst for profound personal growth. It had forced me to confront my fears, my insecurities, and ultimately, to rediscover my own strength. It was a painful process, but it had led me to a place of greater self-awareness and inner peace. I wouldn't change anything, I said, surprising myself with the realization. Even though it was incredibly painful, it brought me here. It led me to you and to a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. Sarah's eyes glistened with emotion as she leaned in to kiss me. I'm grateful for that too, she whispered. For all the pain that brought us to this moment. As we sat there, wrapped in the warmth of our home and each other's embrace, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. The past, with all its heartbreak and lessons, had paved the way for a future filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. It was a journey I wouldn't trade for anything, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of love to heal and transform. With the closure on my past firmly in place, life felt like a series of new beginnings. Sarah and I continued to build our life together, exploring New Zealand and deepening our bond. Every day felt like a step further away from the darkness of my past and into a brighter, more fulfilling future. One weekend, we decided to take a road trip to Queenstown, a picturesque town nestled among the Southern Alps. Known for its stunning landscapes and adventure sports, Queenstown seemed like the perfect getaway to celebrate how far we had come. The drive itself was a journey through some of the most breathtaking scenery I'd ever seen. Rolling hills gave way to towering mountains, and crystal-clear lakes mirrored the azure sky. It felt like we were driving through a painting, each turn revealing a new masterpiece. As we arrived in Queenstown, the town's charm enveloped us. The streets were lined with quaint shops, cafes, and restaurants, all set against the backdrop of snow-capped peaks. We checked into a cozy bed and breakfast with a view of Lake Wakatipu, its waters shimmering in the afternoon sun. Our days were filled with adventure. We went hiking on the Ben Lomond track, the trail offering panoramic views that made the challenging climb worthwhile. We tried bungee jumping off the Kawarau Bridge, an exhilarating experience that left us both breathless and laughing. We even took a scenic cruise on the lake, the tranquility of the water providing a perfect contrast to the adrenaline-fueled activities. One evening, after a particularly adventurous day, Sarah and I sat on the balcony of our room, watching the sunset over the mountains. The sky was ablaze with hues of orange and pink, the colors reflecting off the lake's surface. It was a moment of pure serenity, and I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Mark, Sarah said softly, breaking the comfortable silence, I've been thinking about our future, about what comes next for us. I turned to her, intrigued by the seriousness in her tone. What do you have in mind? She took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting the setting sun. I love the life we've built here, but I've been thinking about taking it a step further. I want us to start our own business, something that combines our passions and allows us to create something together. The idea was both exciting and daunting. What kind of business? Photography, she said, her enthusiasm growing. We've both fallen in love with capturing the beauty around us. Why not share that with others? We could start a photography studio, offer classes, and even lead photography tours around New Zealand. I considered her proposal, the wheels in my mind turning. It made perfect sense. Photography had become a significant part of our lives, a shared passion that had brought us closer together. The idea of turning it into a business, something we could nurture and grow together, was incredibly appealing. I love it, I said, my excitement matching hers. It sounds perfect. Let's do it. Over the next few months, we threw ourselves into planning and setting up our business. We found a charming space in Wellington that we transformed into our studio. We invested in top-notch equipment, created a website, and began marketing our services. The process was challenging, but it was also immensely rewarding. Working side by side, we discovered new depths of our partnership, learning to balance our strengths and weaknesses. Our studio quickly gained traction. We started with local clients, offering portrait sessions and photography classes. Word of mouth spread, and soon we were organizing photography tours, guiding small groups to some of New Zealand's most stunning locations. Each tour was an adventure, an opportunity to share our love for photography and the natural beauty of our adopted home. Our business flourished, but more importantly, so did our relationship. We celebrated each milestone together, whether it was landing a big client or simply capturing the perfect shot. We faced challenges with determination, always supporting each other and finding solutions together. One evening, as we were wrapping up a successful day at the studio, Sarah turned to me with a smile. "Mark, I have something to show you." She led me to her office where a large map of New Zealand hung on the wall. It was dotted with pins, each one marking a place we had visited or planned to visit for our tours. But there was something new, an envelope pinned to the map, addressed to me. "What's this?" I asked, intrigued. "Open it," she said, her eyes twinkling with anticipation. Inside the envelope was a photograph of the two of us, taken on our first hike in New Zealand. On the back, in Sarah's neat handwriting, were the words, "Will you marry me?" I looked at Sarah, my heart swelling with love and joy. She was holding a small box, a ring sparkling inside. "Yes," I said, my voice choked with emotion. 1,000 times yes. As we embraced, I felt a profound sense of completeness. The journey from heartbreak to happiness had been long and arduous, but it had led me to this moment, to Sarah, and to a future filled with love and promise. We had built something beautiful from the ashes of the past, and I knew that together we could face anything that came our way. The months that followed Sarah's proposal were a whirlwind of joy and anticipation. We threw ourselves into wedding planning, balancing our busy schedules with moments of excitement as we chose venues, flowers, and outfits. Our friends and family from both near and far celebrated our happiness, their support and love amplifying our own. We decided on a small, intimate ceremony held at a secluded beach near Queenstown, a place that had come to symbolize new beginnings for us. The day arrived and the weather was perfect, with clear skies and a gentle breeze that carried the scent of the ocean. The backdrop of the azure water against the rugged coastline was nothing short of magical. As I stood at the altar watching Sarah walk towards me, I was overwhelmed by the journey we had taken to get to this point. Her smile radiated happiness, and her eyes sparkled with the same love and determination that had drawn me to her from the beginning. She looked stunning, her dress flowing gracefully with each step, embodying the beauty and strength that I admired in her. The ceremony was simple but deeply meaningful. We exchanged vows that we had written ourselves, each word reflecting the profound connection we shared and the commitment we were making to each other. As we said our I do's and kissed, it felt like the culmination of everything we had worked towards: love, trust, and a shared vision for our future. Our wedding reception was a lively affair filled with laughter, music, and dancing. We celebrated late into the night with our closest friends and family, creating memories that we would cherish forever. It was a perfect day, a testament to the love and resilience that had brought us together. With our wedding behind us, we continued to build our life together with renewed vigor. Our photography business thrived, and we expanded our services to include destination weddings and corporate events. We also began hosting photography workshops, sharing our knowledge and passion with aspiring photographers from around the world. Sarah and I also made time for ourselves, exploring new corners of New Zealand and beyond. Each adventure brought us closer, strengthening our bond and enriching our lives. Whether we were hiking through dense forests, kayaking in tranquil waters, or simply enjoying a quiet evening at home, every moment felt special because we were together. 1 year after our wedding, on a crisp autumn morning, Sarah and I stood in our studio reflecting on our journey. The walls were adorned with photographs that told our story, images of breathtaking landscapes, joyous occasions, and candid moments that captured the essence of our lives. "Can you believe how far we've come?" Sarah asked, her eyes scanning the room with pride. I smiled, wrapping my arm around her. "It's been an incredible journey, and it's only just beginning." Sarah turned to me, a thoughtful expression on her face. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you," she said softly. My heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" She took my hand, her eyes shining with excitement. "I'm pregnant." For a moment I was speechless, a wave of emotions crashing over me. Joy, amazement, and an overwhelming sense of love filled my heart. "Are you serious?" I finally managed to ask, my voice trembling with emotion. She nodded, tears of happiness in her eyes. "Yes, we're going to have a baby." I pulled her into a tight embrace, feeling a sense of completeness I hadn't known was possible. This new life growing inside her was a symbol of our love, our resilience, and the future we were building together. It was a new beginning, one filled with endless possibilities and boundless love. As the months passed, we prepared for the arrival of our child with the same enthusiasm and dedication we brought to everything we did. We turned one of our spare rooms into a nursery, painting the walls a soothing shade of blue and filling it with everything our baby would need. Each step brought us closer, deepening our bond and filling our hearts with anticipation. Finally, the day arrived. Sarah went into labor early one morning, and we rushed to the hospital, both nervous and excited. Hours later, as the sun set over the horizon, our son Ethan was born. Holding him in my arms for the first time, I was overwhelmed by a sense of awe and gratitude. This tiny, perfect human being was a testament to our love and the incredible journey that had brought us here. In the months that followed, our lives changed in ways we couldn't have imagined. Ethan brought joy, laughter, and a sense of purpose that enriched our lives. We navigated the challenges of parenthood together, supporting each other through sleepless nights and endless diaper changes. Each milestone, his first smile, his first steps, was a celebration of the life we had created. Reflecting on my journey, from the pain of betrayal to the joy of building a new life, I realized that every experience had shaped me into the person I was today. The betrayal I had endured had taught me resilience and the importance of self-worth. It had led me to Sarah, whose love and support had been a beacon of hope. Together, we had created a life filled with love, adventure, and endless possibilities. As I watched Ethan take his first tentative steps one sunny afternoon, Sarah by my side, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. The past was a distant memory, a chapter that had closed, paving the way for a future filled with hope and promise. I had found my true home, not in a place, but in the love and laughter of my family. And I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, stronger than ever. The journey from heartbreak to happiness had been long and arduous, but it had led me to a life that was more beautiful and fulfilling than I had ever imagined. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the power of love to heal and transform, and the endless possibilities that life held. I embraced the future with open arms, ready for whatever adventures lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that I had found my true home in the love of my family. As the years went by, the life Sarah and I built together continued to flourish. Our son Ethan grew into a curious and spirited child, filling our home with joy and laughter. Watching him grow and learn was one of the greatest blessings of my life, a daily reminder of the love and resilience that had brought us to this point. Our photography business thrived, expanding beyond our wildest dreams. We opened additional studios in Auckland and Christchurch, and our photography tours became sought-after experiences, attracting enthusiasts from around the globe. We even published a book showcasing our work, capturing the stunning beauty of New Zealand and the stories behind each photograph. It was a labor of love, and seeing it in print was a proud moment for both of us. But amidst the success and the happiness, I never forgot the journey that had brought me here. The pain of Emily's betrayal, the decision to leave everything behind and start anew, and the healing process that followed. It all shaped the man I had become. It was a testament to the power of forgiveness, self-discovery, and the unyielding pursuit of happiness. One summer evening, as Sarah, Ethan, and I sat in our backyard, watching the stars twinkle above, I found myself reflecting on the journey once again. The memories of the past were no longer painful, but rather a reminder of how far I had come. "Dad," Ethan said, his voice filled with wonder, "can we go camping this weekend? I want to see the stars like this, but in the mountains." I smiled at him, ruffling his hair. "Of course, buddy, we'll plan a trip. It sounds like a great adventure." Sarah leaned into me, her head resting on my shoulder. I love how adventurous he is, just like his dad. I kissed the top of her head. He gets it from both of us, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The following weekend, we packed our gear and set off for the mountains. The trip was everything we had hoped for: clear skies, stunning vistas, and countless stars that seemed to stretch on forever. As we sat around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories, I felt a deep sense of contentment. "Mark," Sarah said softly, breaking the comfortable silence, "I've been thinking about expanding our tours internationally. There's so much beauty out there that we haven't explored yet." I looked at her, seeing the excitement in her eyes. "That sounds amazing. Where do you want to start?" She smiled, a mischievous glint in her eye. "How about Iceland? I've always wanted to photograph the northern lights." Ethan's eyes lit up with excitement. "Iceland? That sounds so cool. Can we really go?" I chuckled, ruffling his hair. "Absolutely. We'll make it a family adventure." The idea of exploring new places, capturing their beauty through our lenses, and sharing those experiences with others was exhilarating. It was a reminder that our journey was far from over. There were still countless adventures to be had, new memories to be made, and endless possibilities to explore. As we continued to grow our business and expand our horizons, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The path that had led me here was filled with twists and turns, but it had ultimately brought me to a place of happiness and fulfillment. I had found my true home, not in a location, but in the love of my family and the pursuit of our dreams. Years later, as I stood on a cliff in Iceland, camera in hand, watching the northern lights dance across the sky, I reflected on the incredible journey of my life. Sarah and Ethan stood beside me, their faces illuminated by the ethereal glow of the aurora. It was a moment of pure magic, a testament to the power of resilience, love, and the unyielding spirit of adventure. The journey from heartbreak to happiness had been long and arduous, but it had led me to a life that was richer and more fulfilling than I had ever imagined. I had learned that even in the face of betrayal and pain, there was always hope, always a chance for a new beginning. And as I looked at the awe and wonder on Sarah and Ethan's faces, I knew that our adventure was just beginning, with countless more stories waiting to be told. The end of one chapter had led to the beginning of another, each filled with its own challenges, joys, and discoveries. And through it all, I had learned the most important lesson of all: that true happiness comes from embracing life's journey, with all its highs and lows, and finding the courage to forge ahead, hand in hand with the ones you love.
Subscribe to the channel and share your impressions in the comments.